morning.
Good morning. It's Thursday morning. It's good, the Dog Connection show. I was going to say Good Dog Day show. The Dog
Yay!
Connection show. Yeah, yeah. Hey, we've got a great subject this morning. It's
Hmm.
about saying goodbye to separation anxiety. Now, it has occurred to us that we've done things on separation anxiety in the past, but one of the questions that came up is since COVID, it seems as though separation anxiety with people going back to work has really just like sprung up. And what do you do with an older dog now? So, the first thing we want to talk about is what really is separation anxiety. And this is one of Roman's special areas because I know that he does a lot of online training helping people with understanding what it is because you might not think that you're doing anything wrong, but there's a connection that occurs between you and the dog, and Roman is going to help us understand what that's all about. So, okay, Roman.
Well, let's start with that separation anxiety is unique for each dog and each family. So, separation anxiety is not a description of your dog or my dog, of her dog. It's just a title, it's a general idea of something that a dog is struggling with. Now, there are multiple reasons why the dogs are struggling from that anxiety. And technically speaking, the only one who can call it a separation anxiety disorder is a veterinary behaviorist. Okay, because it's a disorder. In order to classify it as a disorder, we need to do several tests and kind of understand that. However, to keep things simple, we need to see separation anxiety has multiple facets. So, first of all, separation anxiety starts with very young puppies, and it's a safety feature. So, it's a naturally occurring behavior. When the mother or the parents go out for hunting, usually one parent is back or not, and so the puppies have to stay put in place, being quiet and not leaving the spot. So that separation anxiety makes them be in a state of freeze, in a
Alert.
survival situation, which means they should not move or make any sounds until the mother is back, otherwise, she will be exposed to predators.
Mhm.
However, as the time passes by, those puppies are conditioned that mommy always returns, and that separation fades away. So the dogs learn just to be patient. However, sometimes that separation anxiety is not going well because there is a trauma involved. For example, mom never returned,
Oh,
and
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
or something else bad happened while mom was away. Now all of a sudden, while mom is away, bad things happen. Mom will leave, and so it becomes a trauma. So the next thing we will have here is a separation anxiety for genetic. It kind of sounds weird, but we have to see that some breeds are predispositioned to be with the family, like guardian breeds, for example, to give an example. And so, if the family moves away and the dog is alone without the family, that causes anxiety. And the dog tries
Looks
everything
like we're
to
having
get to.
technical problems, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
looks like
happened?
we're having
Am I losing?
yeah, yeah,
You're freezing. And do you
yeah.
have any heavy rain or thunderstorm in your area?
Yeah, we do have a bad weather.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can.
Okay,
And
well,
it's
one thing I'm
frozen.
going to, yeah, now you're frozen, Roman. The one thing I wanted to talk about that people might not even realize is that
Better now?
it seems to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes what you may and look at is separation anxiety is your dogs may urinate or they'll defecate or they'll bark or they'll howl or chew or dig or they'll try to escape. These are some of the signs of separation anxiety. But like Roman says, you really have to have a veterinarian behaviorist know for sure whether you absolutely have um, separation anxiety because you don't want to be treating your dog for something that they don't have.
Hmm.
That
Well,
makes a lot more sense.
we need also to recognize that separation anxiety comes in very subtle, pacing back and forth, panting. The dog gets anxious when you prepare yourself to leave.
Right, yeah.
So these
and
are
they
things that already
can become,
trigger.
yeah, right, right. So, okay, so the one thing I was thinking of, and I asked right before the show, which might be good to talk about. I was thinking that just like humans, some of us like to be alone, and some of us don't. Is there something in the dog that is so attached that they just can't be alone? And you explained it beautifully to me, Roman, which I did not know about the element of being in packs and being socialized.
Mhm.
S-
Well,
So,
from my belief system, dogs are not pack animals, they're social animals, which means the dogs are inclined to be in groups, in their family. So, separation anxiety naturally occurs if the dog has an issue with that. Make sense?
yes, yes. Okay,
I have a question.
okay, yes.
When the puppy is separate from the mother and the suffrage or the how they call it, the nursing stop, is that a traumatic moment for the dog, or the dog is ready to go?
Well, there is a time period of where the dogs between week 8 and 12, where dogs actually are, from their genetics, open to discover the world and start disconnecting a little bit from the family or from this face safety feature. They're just open to explore. Before that, they try to stay close to the mother and learn, be safe. And suddenly they just wake up and like one day it's like, oh, let's check beyond that boundary line. In that time, dogs are more open to that change and to start creating social bonds. And that creating social bonds is the antidote to social anxiety or being having separation anxiety because dog learns how to connect with others.
Okay.
Okay, so it doesn't mean the dog is being able to be in solitude. It's not the case.
Okay. I understand. Good answer.
Okay, so I'm going to put a link in here for everyone so that you can go ahead and look too. This is from the ASPCA about separation anxiety. And I just mentioned some of them, but these are some of the common symptoms. And I don't know if you want to elaborate. There was one down here that I didn't understand. What does this mean, Roman? Coprophobia.
It's a trick question for
Yeah, he's going to have to
Roman.
look it up. It says when left alone or separated from their guardian, some dogs defecate and then consume all or some of their excrement. If a dog eats excrement because of separation anxiety, he probably doesn't perform that behavior in the presence of the guardian. I never heard of that term before.
I don't
Copra.
think we can directly relate it to that. I know the dogs who eat their feces in the kennel um, are likely related to be born in the kennel in dirt, so it's kind of like a learned behavior. One thing we can say for sure is if a dog defecates in peace in the kennel, it's a severe separation anxiety.
Yeah. Okay, now the next question, which I thought was very good too, is why do some dogs develop separation anxiety? Oops, we lost Roman.
We lost Roman.
Okay.
So, any,
So what
yeah,
it's
what is the article is saying about it?
it says
Since
that
Roman is gone.
it says that there really is no conclusive evidence about why it happens, but it
Hmm.
could be that there's a change of the guardian or the family. So think about foster dogs, think
Hmm.
about dogs that are lost, end up in a shelter, end up with another adopted family.
Hmm.
They're still grieving and they're still trying to find their
Here is
other
back.
here he is, their other one.
So
Change in their schedule could possibly be. So
Hmm.
that might go back to when we actually started COVID. You were home all the time. Now you're going
Hmm.
back to work, so your schedule has changed.
Hmm.
Your dog is not used to that anymore. They're more used to having you with them every minute of every day. It seems like.
yeah, the problem is that we actually through COVID was a very interesting period. I have talked with many colleagues internationally about that. It's internationally a problem from India to Hong Kong to England to US to Brazil, everywhere, right? Dogs suddenly the routine changed, and then they get comfortable with us being all the time. It becomes actually a job description, Every time we feel that need for affection, the dog will be there and we're giving the dog affection. And so the dog always comes in reinforced. And actually, it's been reinforced that I have to be with you all the time
Hmm.
because that's how you feel good. And then one day, Monday, we're going back to work and the
Yeah.
whole thing collapses. The dog suddenly, their relationship is being in question,
Right. Right.
right? And this is where things go wrong. And the treatment is very complicated.
Whoops. Lost him again.
Okay, we lost the guy.
Yeah. Well, he said he's having storms out in his
Right.
area.
There's a weather related. He's using a satellite service.
Yes.
It's he's trying to pop in. He's
There
back.
he is. There he is.
Then the
We were excusing you for the disturbance.
crashes on my side and it just pops me out. Anyway, we have to always make sure that if we start treating separation anxiety, we need to be available for separation anxiety. It's it's a problem that is being triggered every time you leave the door, leave the house. So there is a
So, what can
sacrifice
someone
behind
do
that.
to stop that? What are some of the things? I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but now that we're here, in case we lose you, that's what people want to know right now is what can they do to stop the separation anxiety?
Well, since separation anxiety is something very individual, I think before we make any choices, we need to understand what it is about and what happened here and how the dog perceives the anxiety. What are the individual triggers when this separation anxiety starts, and we start counter conditioning. However, every
Okay.
time we leave, we create again the trauma and again and again. So sometimes a behaviorist, or sometimes I recommend somebody has to stay in the house for a weekend so we can start working on that without re-traumatizing the dog and send us back to square one.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. Come on over to my house.
then then of course we have other anxieties that are age related, like the example that you mentioned.
Whoops.
Okay, that's the example you mentioned. I was um, wondering if there's any training, and he was trying to answer the question about creating a situation where the dog know that the owner is leaving but will come back.
Yeah, and the idea of having somebody over now, I'm wondering whether or not you can actually bring your dog to somebody else's place, stay there like for a few hours, then leave for the nighttime, and then maybe come back later on. I wonder if that's
Hmm.
something.
Well, we use the phone for that.
Okay, here we are.
Okay, what we were just saying, Roman, is when you
Oh,
said
he's frozen again.
Okay, I
what,
had I had to reach out the phone because the
The weather is too
website
bad.
still crashes me. Anyway, so I was saying that especially for dogs who are geriatric and have medical conditions, the underlying medical condition can cause the dog anxiety. For example, dogs have more needs than usual, which means the dog needs more food, his blood sugar drops, and then he dies. And the only one who gives food is you, and all of a sudden we have a vicious circle. She's gone, I'm gonna die.
mm,
And some
okay.
dogs also forget about things. So we teach them something, and because they have jealousy for you, she's gone forever. I'm gonna die.
Yeah. He's laughing because you keep freezing.
Yes,
and, and
Still?
and wait until you
it's
see
still,
the when you
yeah,
see the replay, you'll see that you're like
your
this.
face. Is there, since you're still with us, is there any training to be done to make the dog understand that you're leaving but you're coming back and it's not the end of the world?
We have when I work with clients online, um, we have to work in a concept of um, cognitive behavior therapy. We have to change the way the dog thinks about the departure. We want him to think away from the departure. We want him to think about your return. So while the dog goes into a negative thinking pattern, they're leaving, therefore I'm going to die and be alone. Now we want the dog to change these thoughts. They leave, they have to leave so they can come back, right? And sometimes people think that using food for distraction will make it better, but it doesn't, because we're trying to reinforce something that you cannot reinforce. You cannot reinforce an emotion.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah.
You have to change the thought, and the
Yeah.
thought will affect the emotion, and emotion will affect the behavior. Make sense?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so if I was asking before that when you said about having somebody stay overnight, is it possible that you could bring your dog to somebody else's home, be there for a few hours, then leave at the nighttime, and then come back in the morning and see how the
Yes,
dog
that will
reacts?
work. I recommend to people sometimes if that would work. It depends on the dog, idiosyncrasy, that a dog should go to daycare being taken care of while the people are away. And actually, dogs just like it. One thing I would not recommend is getting another dog to keep your other dog company because that's how separation anxiety doesn't work.
Okay.
Separation anxiety goes in connection with a secure attachment. So if the dog doesn't have a secure attachment with the person, the separation anxiety is difficult to relate, right? And if I bring another dog in, the dog still has separation anxiety of me, and the partner doesn't even change anything about it. It's not about the dog being alone or not alone. It's about his partner or his dedicated partner leaves, and that causes the problem.
Right, right. We have a question here, Mark. Not sure what you're asking about. Are there sponsors? Not sure what that means. Do we have a sponsor? Yes, we have a sponsor. It's Ion, Intelligence of Nature, which will show at the end, and it is in the description of the show. If you're interested in getting something from one of our sponsors, that would be great. So, Roman, let's go back here to a second. So, in terms of the changes, what can happen? A change in residence can also be a problem. I'm sorry, I should have done that the other way. Changes in residence can cause a problem, or a change in household membership, like you just said. Don't have another document. Maybe a
Um,
new baby comes in to the
we
family.
notice that any type of changes, dogs don't do well. So if we rehome a dog or we relocate, it comes in that can because wherever the dog felt safe, wherever the dog felt safe in his home, and we leave that home and we move in another home, that safety is gone. So the dog doesn't feel safe, and that is basically a trauma kicking in, and the dog wants you to be with him going through the process of feeling safe.
Is
And
there a
then you go
link?
to work.
Is there a link there with the territorial? The when they said the territorial space?
Yes and no. The territory is where the dog feels safe inside the territory, but feeling safe in his own home, it's
It's
connected to the
another.
territory thing, because the dog feels safe in his territory, right?
Right. So if you move to another new house, there's it's a new territory. So yeah,
Yes.
he has to take possession of that Marcus new territory. I understand. And
Yeah, and
then
some
there's a
dogs have hard time transitioning from one event to another. So some
right.
breeds are more complicated to change. Like
Hmm.
herding breeds are not easily um, to to
Adapt.
accept these changes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I do. We were just notified that we're not streaming on LinkedIn. They have an issue, so it might hope to God we don't have any cyber attacks going on. Oh, geez, what can I say? With the things that are going on in the Ukraine, that would be awful.
We're
Well,
still running on Facebook and YouTube.
yes,
That's
right,
the good
yeah,
news.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
The
Roman. The
show
other
must go
thing, the
on.
other thing
Yeah.
too, is
Can
that
Betty, may I ask you a favor to zoom in on your share screen by
oh, sure.
using Common Plus something? No, you can use your Common Plus to like a zoom in on the page and make the typo bigger on your Chrome.
You know what? This is good for now.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to say that for people that might not even think about that their dog may have a medical problem that could also cause separation anxiety.
Okay.
Yes.
So they should.
A medical trauma, for example, side effects of vaccinations, of all vaccinations, side effect of medication, for example, spaying and neutering, for example, the dog goes home, his hormones are all over the place, and that can trigger.
Oops. You receive a report. It is frozen.
And he's frozen. Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh,
Have you been served?
Okay, so I want to talk about the geriatric late onset separation anxiety. What I thought was rather interesting, and I'm just going to keep it at this level, okay? Unless you want to share screen, Gaetan, go ahead.
Well, I have to have the right page.
Okay. Well, anyway,
Okay.
uh, what they're saying here in this is that there can be some cognitive dysfunctions in an older dog that would also allow them to have the separation anxiety. And so they'll have like a little bit of confusion. They don't understand where did their master go, and not master, but where did their human go. Uh, they realize that they have to have social interaction, and what happens when the human isn't there. So some of these things are very important. I also say that um, it can manifest at nighttime with anxiety, almost as if your dog views your sleeping as a form of separation. They want you awake, which I thought was rather interesting. So,
I've seen it very rare. I've seen sleeping disorders happening.
uh-huh. Okay, it says that your dog may keep you awake by pacing or panting and pawing at you and demanding attention. Now,
Yeah,
when my Charlie does that, it's usually because I'm not breathing, so he lets me know. So it's like he's aware that I'm asleep, but if I'm not breathing right, so that's not separation anxiety. He knows I'm there.
yeah.
But my question is, how does the dog know, or why would a dog feel that you're not there when you're sleeping? Is it because they can't hear you breathing, or you're not
No,
snoring, or what?
sometimes it becomes when dogs have struggling connecting emotionally with the individual person, so we don't have this emotional connection, and the dog struggles with it. The dog doesn't feel you emotionally, therefore you're not there. So he wakes
Okay.
up and he only sees what he sees, but he doesn't feel it. That can happen. So elderly dogs may show this, but it's really rare.
Okay.
It's really rare.
Okay, well, they're saying here, and I don't know if it's true or not, that older dogs can get really irritated and agitated as well too when they're left alone.
Yeah, they're disoriented.
Okay, so what can we do to help the older dog? So let's say now let's do a scenario. I'm leaving the house now, and I'm not going to acknowledge that I'm leaving. I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm not going to say, Mommy will be home soon. Not going to do any of that. Just I'm walking out the door, and what do I do? What should I do to prepare before I'm leaving to make certain that he's not going to even notice that I left?
I think hiding your departure is as bad as not announcing it.
Really?
I would say the dog needs to learn that you leaving doesn't cause any harm. You're coming back soon.
Good
It's
point.
something the
Yeah.
dog has to learn not to tolerate, to predict. The problem with separation anxiety is the dog cannot predict what's going to happen next once that door closes. And it's something where you
Okay.
have to come in from a cognitive behavior therapy perspective and start teaching the dog what's going to happen when that door closes. What's going to happen if I put my shoes on? What's going to happen if I put my keys in my hands? What's going to happen if I blow dry my hair? What happens if my shower, brushing my teeth, paint my nails, or make my hair and put my spray on? All these are triggers. So the first two sessions basically is capturing all those triggers that make the dog think the wrong direction.
Huh. Okay. Well, that makes sense. And so I've been doing it wrong. Again, 2 weeks in a row, Roman, you found me doing things wrong. Forgot what it
Yeah,
was last
there
week, but
there is
yeah, see, I
about
try and pretend like I look to see that he's in another room and he hasn't even noticed that I'm going towards the door, and then I sneak out. That's not a
yeah.
good thing.
Well, you're struggling just like 15 other million people with dogs
Okay.
with separation anxiety. So you're not alone. Unfortunately, not many people recognize that and even surrender their dogs for misbehaving,
Right. Yeah.
right? Whining, crying, barking all the time where they're going, chewing on shoes and destroying furniture. People think it's bad behavior. We use even
Excuse me.
aversive training methods to punish the dogs for doing those bad behaviors, not recognizing the dog is really internally struggling with fear of death.
Well, you know what I did do that did help? Now, this was a couple years ago because Charlie doesn't really have anxiety right now. It's just a habit that I formed to not say goodbye. So let's call it what it really is, habit. What I did do is I got one of those pet cams. And I noticed that as soon as I left the door, he would go right up to the door and he would sit there, not lay down, just sit there sideways up against the door, waiting for me to come home. He would not move. So then I started talking to him. And then the tail would start going, and then he would lay down, and it seems as though he would calm down. So every 10 minutes or so, I would come back in and say, Charlie, hello, hi, honey, this is mommy. And then, oh, mommy's close. And then he was okay with that. Then eventually he started going away from the door and he would lay on the bed or look out the window, and it didn't seem to bother him. So I don't know if that's a good training tool. It's what I used.
Well, yeah, but if you don't do it with supervision, it's a hit or miss. It's like Russian roulette. Will it work? It can be worse if you do the wrong thing. I see often people just bribe the dog with food, give him a Kong toy, and the dog is chewing on it, and then they walk away with it. Once the Kong toy is gone, they freak out, but they don't see it
Right.
because
Yeah.
they're gone. He's being lured to eat while the person is leaving, and then all of a sudden he stops eating in
Mhm.
fear that you're gonna leave.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. So,
Once
I,
again, the
yes,
problem with dog is not the dog, is human. The way
yes,
interact with the dog can create that situation. It's man-made in some cases.
exactly.
That's
So,
a personal comment.
so Roman, for the final end here, because I want to go into the dogs of Ukraine. Uh, what is the last thing you want people to know about how they can help with separation
First of
anxiety?
all, there is help possible, but you need to reach out to somebody who specializes in separation anxiety. So people are welcome to reach out to me and we can talk about it. There are other professionals out there who do the same thing from different perspectives, different angles. I'm coming from a holistic perspective. I see the whole person as a whole. Um, and we need to talk about it. We need to understand what exactly is going on. So if you're suspicious that a dog is not feeling well when you're leaving, that's already good time to start working on it because it can be an easy fix, right? But if we ignore it, it just becomes bigger and bigger and goes deeper and deeper, and we have more work to do.
Mhm.
And bottom line
Okay,
is, it's something the dog can be helped, and it's bad if the dog is not can help because he suffers with it.
okay. Now before the question that my friend had asked is that she does take her dog to daycare and she's fine at daycare. It's only when she leaves her alone completely. So is it something that maybe she's doing in the house? Is it something she's not
Yeah,
conditioning the dog for?
the thought of being alone and dying alone is in the house. When she's
Okay.
outside of the house and being somewhere else, she feels safe because there are other dogs there keeping her mind off of feeling.
Okay. Okay. So she's going to have to really understand that. Yes. Okay. I get that. I totally get that. Well, so now we want to switch over to the what happens with hang on here.
Ukrainian.
What happened to the Ukraine? We posted this. I guess it was on the 28th, and we want to say that here's a woman. Her name is Sasha. She stayed with her dogs in Ukraine because she is a rescue, and she was killed. And nothing about the dogs, but what we found very compelling and very heartwarming is that you fans, you came and 20,000 of you engaged in wanting to share everything. And it only reached 117,000 people, but 20,000 of you of the 117,000 you got actively involved. So this must resonate with all of us about the what's happening to the animals, what's happening to the dogs in Ukraine, and we know that. There was another area that we saw which we really didn't like, and it says that some Russian snipers are using dogs for target practice. My stomach turned when I saw this, and it's something. It's we can't even understand what's going on. But one thing that we do want to warn you about that is very, very important is there are a number of groups that are forming now, and it is with the understanding that they are saying that they are the group that is going to go over, get the dogs and everything. And they may be associated with a not for profit, but please be very, very careful that you know where your money is going to, because the rescue groups that are really going out there, it takes a lot and it's hard to get there. So really do your due diligence in not giving money to those groups that you know nothing about. Make certain that they can back up what they are saying. And in addition to that, now Roman had said something this morning, which is about what did we hear about the hackers in Russia?
Well, these are unconfirmed things, but it seems that some hackers hacked into the political websites and basically changing the information from there.
Yeah, right,
But
right.
they're everywhere hackers, so hackers can hack themselves, each other, I guess. So we have to take this with a grain of salt. The fact, though, is that Ukrainian people are closely related to the other side of the border, so they're same people. Some people before, when the Russian um, was together as all these countries, they were just one thing, right? And I remember a statement that every captured Russian soldier is being sent back to his mom, which is interesting. They're not being captured in prison; they're going back home.
Yeah.
Some people don't even know where they are. Some soldiers said they were just thinking it was kind of an exercise. They didn't have a clue that actually did the invasion.
Hmm.
They didn't
Right.
have food. They didn't have backup. They ran out of gas.
And I
All
and I
of them
did
are young children.
yes, and I did read this morning and saw on TV that uh, many of the people that are the refugees that have gone to Poland, they've brought their dogs, they've brought their animals with them. So when you say, what bothers me is when you say you can't take your dog with you, look at them as an example.
Yep.
They took their dogs with them. They took their dogs became more important than stuff. And that's the way it should be because dogs are not stuff, they are living beings.
Hmm.
So, okay, everyone. Today we had our show today. It was sponsored again by Ion for pets. We'll put there's was a link, and every it helps for us to keep the show going, and we appreciate that. This is a product that helps your dog with the digestive area, and we talked about this before, that digestion not only in pets but in humans too. That's where all disease starts.
Hmm.
So if you can start looking at something, especially if you have an older, more mature dog, you definitely want to make certain you just put a few drops into their water. It's not like you have to give them a pill or they have to do anything. It's all liquid. So that's it. Okay, everyone. Uh, last thoughts, Gaetan.
Well, in the dog anxiety, the behavior of people can be a triggering factor of that anxiety. Like not telling your dog that you're leaving, it's not fair. If I
Oh,
live in your house and you leave the house and I say, "Where's Catty?"
yeah, right. You're
I
right.
will look
You're right.
around and say, "What the heck is going on, Catty? You?" Did you pass out? Are you dead? Where are
Yeah,
you? What's
yeah.
going on, Kathy?
So I'll apologize to him.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to. Yes, to him. Sure.
Okay. Oh, geez. Okay. So Roman,
No,
any
my name
last
is Gaetan, by the way. It's not
I
G's. Gaetan.
oh,
Okay.
oh, okay. This, by the way, is this is in Poland. This is some of the dogs. Look at everybody took their dogs with them. Isn't that great?
Hmm.
Wow, love it. Okay. Roman, last thoughts?
May that be over as quick as possible. I've been in so
Yeah.
many wars, and I just don't want to see one again. I've
Yeah.
been in Yugoslavia war. I was very close to Serbia and Croatia war. Been in Iraq, so I'm kind of done with it.
Yeah. Well, this
Enough
is a
war.
senseless war to boot. Yeah, and a war so unlike we've ever seen before. I
Yeah.
can't imagine killing my neighbors. I really can't.
It's a civil war basically, not different.
Yes,
Same
right.
people
Yeah, I
speaking the
know.
same language, having the same belief system. It's
Exactly.
really just about resources.
Yeah.
Right. And not even realizing that they're there to kill each other. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants
No,
it. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Yes. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye. Be
Stay
well.
safe. Bye.
Yeah. Be safe.